Before you scroll, before you doubt, before you tell yourself this is just another video, pause. Because you were not randomly led here. You didn't just click this by accident. Something in you felt a pull. Something in you whispered, listen. And I need you to understand this right now. The delay you've been frustrated about, the waiting that almost broke your faith, the doors that didn't open when you knock it, that was not rejection. That was protection. That was preparation. That was me allowing the delay because your upgrade is massive. You've been asking why it's taking so long. Why others seem to move ahead while you feel stuck in the same place. Why your prayers feel like they're hovering in the air unanswered. You've wondered if you missed your moment, if you weren't qualified enough, if maybe you misunderstood the promise. But what if the very thing you called a setback was the construction phase of something so big that releasing it early would have crushed you? You thought it was bad timing. You thought it was bad luck. You even laughed at yourself and said, of course, this would happen to me. But heaven was probably saying, relax. I'm working. And yes, I know you rolled your eyes at that thought a few times. You're human. You get tired. You get discouraged. You start comparing your timeline to everyone else's highlight reel. But your timeline is sacred. You feel the weight of being different. You've always sensed that your life wouldn't be average. Yet that calling came with isolation. You've been misunderstood, labeled too intense, too sensitive, too ambitious, too quiet, too much. And while people saw confusion, I saw capacity. While they saw delay, I saw development. While you saw silence, I was strengthening your foundation. This message is not random. It is confirmation. You think the delay was about punishment. It wasn't. It was about protection. You think the waiting meant you weren't chosen. It meant you were chosen for something that required endurance. And endurance is not built in comfort. It is built in the spaces where you cry quietly and still show up the next day. It is built in the moments where you feel overlooked but refuse to shrink. There were battles you fought that nobody saw. Silent wars in your mind. Nights where sleep wouldn't come because anxiety kept whispering worst case scenarios. Smiles you wore during the day while your heart was heavy. You kept going anyway, and you wondered if it even mattered. It mattered. Every tear was recorded. Every disappointment was shaping you. Every closed door was redirecting you. You were being separated for a reason. Separated from certain people. Separated from environments that would have limited you. Separated from old versions of yourself. And yes, it hurt. Growth almost always does. There's something you haven't realized yet. And I'm not going to reveal it fully just yet, because you need to feel this truth unfold inside you. The delay was calibrating your character to match the capacity of your calling. If I had given you what you asked for 2 years ago, it would have overwhelmed you. If I had opened that door last season, you would have walked in with the wrong mindset. You weren't ready then. But you are becoming ready now. You felt forgotten, but you were being fortified. You felt hidden, but you were being refined. You felt stuck, but you were being strengthened. Think about who you were before this waiting season began. More reactive, more dependent on validation, more easily shaken by rejection. Now look at you. You still feel, but you don't crumble as easily. You still care, but you don't chase as much. You still hope, but your hope is quieter, deeper, steadier. That didn't happen by accident. There were people who walked away when you needed them most. You thought that loss meant you weren't valuable. But what if their departure was divine subtraction? What if their absence created the space necessary for your elevation? You were never meant to carry everyone with you. Some relationships were seasonal. Some attachments were anchors. And anchors are useful only when you're meant to stay still. You are not meant to stay still. You are being upgraded. But upgrades require dismantling, and dismantling feels like loss. It feels like confusion. It feels like everything falling apart at once. You thought your life was unraveling. In truth, it was being rearranged. You thought doors were closing because you failed. In truth, doors were closing because they were too small for where you're going. You kept asking, why me? But not in the proud way, in the tired way, in the discouraged way, in the I can't take another delay way. And I heard you. I heard the frustration in your prayers. I heard the moments where you almost gave up. I saw you questioning whether the promise was even real. Here is the shift you weren't expecting. The pain you resent is the proof of your preparation. The rejection you replay in your mind was rehearsal for resilience. The waiting you despised was weight training for your spirit. You were not being denied. You were being developed. If I had given you instant success, you would have relied on applause. Now you rely on alignment. If I had handed you influence too early, you would have tried to please everyone. Now you understand discernment. If I had accelerated your breakthrough before you healed your wounds, you would have bled on people who didn't deserve it. You thought the delay was the enemy, but sometimes the delay is the shield. You look at others and wonder why their journey seems easier. You don't see the full picture. You don't see their private battles, just like they don't see yours. But your path is tailored, custom built, precision designed. You are not behind. You are on schedule. Divine schedule. And yes, I know that phrase used to annoy you. Divine timing. You'd think, okay, but can divine timing hurry up? You're not wrong for feeling that. Waiting stretches you. It exposes impatience. It tests trust. But every time you chose to believe instead of quit, something inside you expanded. You were building spiritual muscle. There is a breakthrough with your name on it. But breakthroughs don't just change your circumstances, they change you. And you had to become someone who could sustain the upgrade. You had to outgrow certain insecurities. You had to confront certain fears. You had to face parts of yourself you were avoiding. That's why the delay felt personal. Because it was. Not to harm you. To shape you. You are stronger now than you were. Wiser, more discerning. Less impressed by temporary glitter. More focused on lasting impact. You don't need as much noise anymore. In fact, you've grown comfortable in silence. And that silence taught you how to hear me more clearly. You thought you were alone in that season. But the separation was sacred. I pulled you back so I could speak to you without interference. So I could remind you who you are. So I could show you that your identity is not tied to achievements, relationships, or applause. You are chosen. Not because you're perfect. Not because you never doubted. But because even in doubt, you kept searching. And here is the truth that's been forming behind the scenes. The delay is ending. Not because you demanded it. Not because you complained enough. But because the work inside you is reaching completion. The upgrade is no longer just an idea. It's alignment meeting opportunity. Remember those nights you cried and said, I just want clarity. Clarity is coming. Remember when you whispered, I can't keep doing this. You won't have to do it the same way anymore. The old strategies are expiring. The old limitations are dissolving. You were hidden because visibility without preparation is vulnerability. Now you are being positioned. You were underestimated because exposure too early would have attracted the wrong attention. Now your presence will command respect without you forcing it. The same people who overlooked you will sense something different. Not arrogance, authority. Not desperation, depth. And you won't even need to announce it. Your energy will speak before you do. There was spiritual resistance around your life because of what you carry. The confusion, the sudden setbacks, the almost breakthroughs that slipped through your fingers, they were not random attacks. They were signs that something valuable is attached to you. But resistance does not mean defeat. It means significance. You survived things that should have shut you down. And yet here you are, still listening, still hoping, still believing. That is not weakness. That is divine stamina. The delay forced you to confront your shadow. It forced you to heal childhood wounds. It forced you to release bitterness. It forced you to redefine success. You thought you were losing time. You were gaining depth. And depth is what sustains destiny. You're not going to enter this next season as the same person who started the journey. You're not desperate anymore. You're deliberate. You're not chasing validation. You're cultivating vision. You're not begging for doors. You're building capacity. The upgrade is massive. Not just professionally, internally, emotionally, spiritually. You are about to experience a level of clarity that makes the confusion make sense. A level of peace that silences the old anxiety. A level of favor that feels almost surreal. But don't miss this, the greatest part of the upgrade is who you've become. You are resilient. You are intuitive. You are disciplined in ways you never thought you could be. You learned how to sit with discomfort instead of escaping it. You learned how to trust without constant reassurance. You learned how to stand alone without feeling abandoned. That is power. And now, as this cycle closes, I need you to release the narrative that you were behind. You were being built. Release the belief that you were forgotten. You were being fortified. Release the idea that you were unlucky. You were being aligned. Your waiting season is not your identity. It was your training ground. Very soon, you will look back and realize that if everything had worked out when you wanted it to, you would have settled for less than your true capacity. You would have accepted half measures. You would have called survival success. But now you are prepared for expansion. Expansion requires space. And space required separation. So when people misunderstood your solitude, let them. When they questioned your pace, let them. They don't know what you were being prepared for. They don't know the scale of what's coming. They only saw the pause. They didn't see the preparation. You did not endure all of this for nothing. The breakthrough is not just external. It's internal activation. It's you stepping into rooms without shrinking. It's you speaking without apologizing. It's you receiving without guilt. It's you recognizing that you were never too much. You were just ahead. This message found you because you're ready. Ready to stop doubting your timing. Ready to stop replaying old disappointments. Ready to stop calling yourself unlucky. Say it with me in your spirit, the delay was divine. The delay was protective. The delay was purposeful. And now the upgrade is here. Walk into it with confidence. Walk into it with humility. Walk into it knowing that you were shaped for this. The waiting didn't weaken you. It weaponized your wisdom. The silence didn't suffocate you. It sharpened your hearing. The rejection didn't reduce you. It redirected you. You are not behind. You are becoming. And as you step into this next chapter, remember this feeling. Remember that you almost gave up. Remember that you almost believed the lie that nothing was happening. And then remember that everything was happening. This is your confirmation. This is your reminder. This is your activation. If this message resonated with you, if you know deep down that the delay shaped you for something greater, comment the words, "My upgrade is massive." Declare it, own it, and stay connected. Because what's unfolding next in your life will require the version of you that refused to quit. You were delayed because your upgrade is massive. And now, You're ready.